me see, maybe 1990. I'll find it and send it to you guys. Argued that there are other types of risk for such firms. For example, especially for small companies, there is an additional risk of financial fragility. If debt markets were perfect, when risks are increased, small companies can borrow as much as they want at just at a higher rate, right? But the trouble is, when there's a credit crunch, smaller companies have an issue with borrowing at all. I mean, because of this banking issues, we're going to have a mid-sized credit crunch over the next year or two. That's not going to affect the large companies much. Why? Who's not going to lend to Apple, right? But you're a company that has only $500 million of market cap. Banks are going to be reluctant to lend to you at any rate. I mean, think of it like this: if your credit score is 800, the banks are going to be in line to give you a credit card, and maybe the first 12 months interest free and so on. If you have a credit score of 600, it doesn't matter what the interest rate, nobody's going to lend to you. Or there's going to be some people, let's say, okay, I will give you a credit card with a limit of 500. I'm going to charge you $100 every year as an annual fee, and you're going to pay 35% interest if you keep any balances. For a firm, paying 35% interest is essentially saying don't borrow. For individuals, that's not necessarily the case. But either way, financial fragility that is over and above the market risk that is possibly explained by asymmetrical debt markets for small and large firms. There is a similar issue with firms that have high book-to-market ratio or value firms. In many cases, a lot of these firms have become value firms because there is a history of not being that successful. Okay? Their finances, independent of their size, is already at razor thin margins. If you had a few, two or three bad years, you may not be able to survive another bad year. Okay? Razor thin, not thin. Hence, they may be exposed to another source of systematic risk. What Fama and French argue is that, okay, I don't necessarily know what those additional risk factors are. Even though we cannot theoretically pinpoint the sources of additional systematic risk factors, we know that those risk factors are correlated with small versus large and value versus growth distinction. Even though we're not doing it here, if you looked at portfolios within, if you looked at small versus large among value firms only, you still see that small firms outperform the large firms. Similarly, among large firms, for example, value firms outperform the growth firms. In fact, I mean, I will leave this as an exercise for you guys, but let me see. Here's, for example, 25 portfolios formed on size and book to market. Let me kind of show this to you. I'll already post this for you. Small and low book to market. Small, second decile, third decile, and so on. Okay. Not quintile, not deciles. I'm just going to calculate the averages just to show you. Remember, these 5 are all small firms, okay? But we differentiate them based on their book to market. In fact, among small firms, the extra premium for value versus growth is even higher. It's about 80 basis points. It's not like that, all the value firms are small or all the growth firms are large. But that premium is not that high among large stocks, but there is still some premium. I mean, even there's a premium of about 27 basis points, even among large stocks. If you rearrange those, you could actually see that among value firms, there's a premium to size. Among growth firms, there's a premium to size as well, which I'm going to leave to you as an exercise. What were we talking about? So they said, if that's the case, let's come up with what they called an empirical asset pricing model. It's called empirical asset pricing model because based on empirical evidence, we find some sort of variable that's correlated with additional risk, systematic risk, such as size or value versus growth, and try to come up with an estimate of those hidden factors. So they came up with two factors. One of them they called SMB, short for small minus big. So this is the difference between returns to a portfolio of small stocks minus returns to portfolio of big stocks. And they said returns to smallest 30% of stocks versus largest 30% of stocks. And we already have data on that. Let me see. If you look at here, low 30, medium 40, high 30, right? Let's just get the averages and see what's the difference. For the smallest 30%, $1.24 a month. Highest 30%, only 0.92. The reason you do something like a 30%, again, you know, you want a lot of firms in that portfolio. And when you have a lot of firms, number of firms that are small 1 year and not small next year is not that high. But if you do only with 10%, there is a lot of movement. That creates additional volatility that you just want to filter out.